They were happy. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. 2 decades together. Children, a house, vacations, matching rings, dinner at 7. From the outside, they were the perfect couple, the kind you admire and perhaps even envy. Then came the betrayal. The affair. The unraveling. But when they sat down in front of therapist Esther Perel, the question she asked wasn't the one most people would expect. She didn't ask, "What's wrong with your marriage?" She asked, "What did the affair mean to you?" This question is unsettling because it challenges everything we've been taught to believe about infidelity. In most relationships, cheating is framed as the ultimate betrayal, a sign of brokenness, dishonesty, even malice. But according to Perel, the truth is far more complex and far more human. People don't always cheat because they're unhappy. They don't always cheat because they're bored or because their partner failed them in some profound way. Some people cheat even when they are in deeply loving, stable relationships. And that contradiction, of love and betrayal coexisting, is what fascinates Esther Perel. It's also what makes her insights so uncomfortable and so liberating. What if cheating isn't just about sex or lust or neglect? What if, instead, it's about identity, about longing, not for another person, but for another version of ourselves? Perel has spent decades studying couples all over the world. What she found, again and again, was this hidden theme: many people who cheat aren't trying to destroy their relationship. They are trying to escape something inside themselves, a version of their life that feels too familiar, too responsible, too stifling. The affair isn't just a betrayal of their partner, it's an act of rebellion against who they've become. Sometimes, it's the search for lost youth, the desire to feel desirable again, to be seen, touched, wanted in a way that routine and duty have long erased. Other times, it's a quiet scream for freedom, not from the partner, but from the weight of being the good one, the reliable one, the always there one. And often, Perel says, the person having the affair isn't running away from their partner, they're running away from themselves. Or rather, from the part of themselves that feels dead. The lover becomes a mirror, not of who they are, but of who they could have been, the artist that never emerged, the wild child that was tamed, the sensual soul that was buried under years of dishes, diapers, and deadlines. This is not to justify betrayal. Perel never excuses dishonesty or deceit. But she invites us to go deeper. Because if all we do is condemn the cheater and comfort the betrayed, we miss the opportunity to understand what the betrayal was truly about. Affairs, in her view, are not always about the end of love. They are often about the hunger for aliveness. You can love your partner deeply and still feel invisible. You can admire them, share a home with them, parent children together, and still ache for a version of yourself that got lost along the way. In this light, cheating becomes less about turning away from the partner and more about turning towards something inside, something unexplored, something neglected, something half-forgotten. In her best-selling book The State of Affairs, Esther Perel writes, "When we seek the gaze of another, it isn't always our partner we're turning away from, but the person we have become." That line, so simple and yet so radical, reframes infidelity not as a symptom of bad relationships, but as a window into our deepest existential crises. Because modern relationships ask more of us than ever before. We expect our partner to be our best friend, our co-parent, our financial partner, our therapist, and our greatest lover, all wrapped in one. It is a beautiful ideal, but also an immense pressure. In this landscape, desire doesn't die because we no longer love. It dies because we cannot breathe. Perel's work challenges us to ask harder questions. What is fidelity in a world of endless options? Is emotional monogamy more important than physical monogamy? Is it possible to betray someone and still love them? And perhaps most painfully, can we look at infidelity not only as a wound to be healed, but as a truth to be heard? To truly understand infidelity, Perel suggests, we must move beyond the simplistic binary of villain and victim. Yes, an affair breaks trust. It violates the pact between two people. But it also reveals what that pact may have failed to protect, not just loyalty, but longing, vitality, freedom, even identity. The hurt is real, and so is the need to make sense of that hurt in a way that doesn't trap either partner in permanent shame or resentment. In her therapy sessions, Esther often sees couples who come in shattered, but still holding on to each other. The betrayed partner asks, "How could you do this to me?" while the unfaithful one asks, in a quieter voice, "How did I lose myself?" Both are crying for the same thing, to be seen, to be heard, to be loved in a way that feels whole again. And this is where her approach becomes transformative. She doesn't just guide couples back to where they were. She helps them uncover who they are now, after the affair, after the illusion, after the devastation. She invites both people to speak, not just about what happened, but about what had been silently decaying long before the first message, the first touch, the first betrayal. In many cases, the affair becomes the unexpected door through which the relationship is finally reborn. Not because the betrayal is forgiven easily, it rarely is. But because it forced both partners to confront the questions they'd long avoided. Who are you now? What do you want? What were you longing for that you never dared to name? These are the questions that revive relationships, not kill them. And still, for many, this view is deeply uncomfortable. How can something as painful, as destructive, as morally wrong as infidelity be talked about without condemnation? Isn't that dangerous? Doesn't it encourage excuses? But Esther Perel is not interested in excuses. She is interested in insight. Because if we don't understand why people stray, even when they are committed, even when they are in love, we will never be able to truly prevent it. We will only shame it, punish it, bury it deeper. And what is buried, she warns, only grows in shadow. One of the greatest myths of modern love is the idea that desire and security can coexist effortlessly. But desire is built on mystery, on risk, on distance, and long-term relationships, by design, seek to erase those things. We want stability, routine, predictability. We also want excitement, danger, spontaneity. And when we don't know how to talk about that contradiction, we end up seeking it in silence, in secrecy, in someone else's arms. So what can we do? First, we must normalize the conversation. Not normalize cheating, but normalize talking about the desires, fears, frustrations, and fantasies that lead people there. We need to create space in our relationships for uncomfortable truths. For emotional honesty, not just emotional comfort. Second, we must stop reducing infidelity to sex. Often, the most devastating affairs are emotional, not physical. The late-night texts, the shared secrets, the emotional intimacy that once belonged only to the partner, that, too, is a form of betrayal. And sometimes, even more painful than a one-time physical act. Third, we need to recognize that love is not a contract of possession. As Perel says, the person you love is not your property. They are in your care, for as long as they choose to stay. This shift, from ownership to stewardship, changes everything. It invites a relationship built on mutual choice, not obligation. On freedom, not fear. Finally, we must have the courage to look inward. If we've been betrayed, we must allow ourselves to grieve, not just the loss of trust, but the loss of the story we thought was true. If we have betrayed, we must take responsibility, without minimizing the damage or collapsing into self-pity. But both must also ask, what does this moment teach me about myself, about us, about what we were missing? Because in the end, infidelity is a crisis, but also a mirror. It reflects not only the cracks in the relationship, but the fractures in our identity, our desires, our capacity for truth. And like all crises, it carries within it the seed of transformation, if we dare to look honestly and listen deeply. Esther Perel doesn't promise easy answers. She doesn't offer clean closure or moral certainty. What she offers is something far more valuable, a new lens. One that allows us to see betrayal not just as the end of something, but as the raw, messy beginning of something else, something real, something examined, something perhaps even more authentic than what came before. So why do we cheat? Sometimes it's because we are lost. Sometimes it's because we are curious. Sometimes it's because we are afraid, or trapped, or quietly dying inside the roles we were taught to play. But always, as Perel says, we cheat because we are human, flawed, complex, and hungry for meaning. And until we are willing to look at that hunger with compassion instead of judgment, we will keep asking the wrong questions, and wondering why we never find peace.